Hi, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching. It's been a little bit of a break since the last video, but I have got a couple of good reasons. First one is I was up on the Chesterfield. Obviously I couldn't carry on that canal because of the weeds. I see subsequently that Canal and River Trust have sent weed boats up there and they should be clearing that by now. So I left Chesterfield, or the canal, came back down the Trent. I stayed a bit of time in Nottingham. I stayed a good 2 weeks whilst it was really hot inside at Weston-on-Trent. Very nice place to moor, very quiet. There's a water point there. I could get my car quite close by, so that was good. And then whilst I was there, a viewer who's a carpenter, 40 years plus experience, who lives down near the Ashby Canal, he got in contact and said, hey, we could do a bit of a you scratch my back, I scratch yours scenario. He needs to know some bits and pieces about electrics, and because he's thinking about getting a boat, and in return he wanted to do some carpentry work for me. Now, as you know, I need to do lots and lots of carpentry inside the boat, so I jumped at the chance. I gave him a call and I'm on my way-ish towards the Ashby at the moment. You might recognise this view. Do you recognise it at all? This is the Coventry Canal, and this is where I moored up when it was really icy and snowy. And I got stuck. The boat got stuck around about here, actually. Again, I've got my car quite close by, so that's really good. The other thing I've actually been doing inside, shock horror, I have actually been doing some things inside. I've been starting to board it out. Now, as you know, I put battens, vertical battens down above the gunnels, down the length of both sides of the boat. They were at 40 centimetre centres, and originally I was going to use some MDF sheets, but that soaked up lots of water, so I got rid of those. And then I thought, well, it'd be really nice if it was actually real oak. Lots of people have oak face ply. In one or two boats I've been into, you touch the walls and the walls sort of flex. I didn't really want that, because with me falling about on the boat and Molly jumping around, that's just a recipe for disaster. So I thought of something much stronger. So I went to a DIY yard here in Britain called B&Q, and I looked at their wooden flooring. Now you might think, why on earth are you putting flooring on a wall? Well, actually it's really strong. It's about 14 to 16 millimetres thick versus 5 to 9, which is a sheet of ply typical on a wall. And the other benefit is, well, what I've decided to get is manufactured floorboards. What that means is they're not completely solid oak. Some of them you've got to be careful of because there's MDF underneath, and then that's the whole MDF scenario. But the ones I've chosen, it looks like ply underneath, to be fair, but with a much thicker top layer. Looks really nice. They've got nice edging on, which makes them sort of show up a little bit more on the wall. It's not just like floorboards where they're all butted together. And the other big bonus is they've got tongue and grooves on all four sides of the wood. Because my battens are at 40 centimetre centres, I now no longer need to end on a batten. So I can just carry on going, and I can do whole lengths of the boat. What I've done is I've started at the top, I've screwed the top ones in, and then I've just carried on going down, and they all click into each other, and the next one down makes the top one much more rigid, and every tongue, a bit like the secret nailing I did for the the boards below the gunnel, I have screwed it in. Every tongue I've screwed it onto the batten, so it's very, very strong, very tough. But before I did any of that, I wanted a little bit more insulation. So I've got battens down the walls, and because I've got lots of foam on the ceiling, instead of cutting more foam off, because obviously more foam taken off means less insulation, I have added battens on the ceiling as well. They're 5 centimetre thick battens. I've done one down bit where the ceiling and the wall meet, a little bit off, and then another one at a set distance down the middle of the boat. To get the centre line, I measured at one end, measured at the other end, and did a string line down the centre and marked it with a pencil. And then it was about 9.5 centimetres either side was the edge of my next battens. So I've got 4 5 centimetre deep battens, which has allowed me to get away with not really cutting much foam back now, thank goodness. It's kept the thickness of the insulation, and it's added an air gap, and that's quite valuable, especially in a ceiling. But in my normal belt and braces, a viewer contacted me on Facebook and said, why don't you sort of do some vapor barrier? And there's this stuff that's aluminium foil lined that's got a really high U value, which is effectively an insulation value. And I looked into it, and I bought 2 sheets of it, or 2 rolls. They were 1.5 metres by 50 metres each roll, so there's more than enough. And they overlap quite nicely, and you tape up all the joins with foil tape. They've got like a crisscross pattern inside, a bit like either tarpaulin or a bit like a parachute. So it's very, very difficult to rip. And the U value of them is 0.35 with 89 millimetres of gap. Now I've got 51 millimetres of gap. So obviously I won't have as high a U value, but I've stapled it up all the way down and sealed it, and already the nights I'm waking up absolutely boiling because there's not enough windows open, and that's just since I've been putting that up. So I've gone from one gunnel up across the roof and back down the other side with the foil membrane. And originally, Molly's walking us out, she's just running back and forth here. I think it's because the grass is quite lush and it's nice on her toes. But anyway, I've decided to, instead of having my cable run down the boat underneath the gunnels, it's quite tricky under there and you've got to go round things and everything, I've decided to go in a cable tray down the middle. Made a little tray out of wood, and I've started laying some cables down there. Much easier. And that's effectively what I've been up to over the last couple of weeks. I've done quite a lot of moving. I did have a week or so off because of the boiling hot heat. It was unbearable at times. But I have been cracking on inside, and it is looking much better. I've done from the bulkhead behind the fire to the bow door. I've done from the shower near enough to the stern on the starboard side, and I've even started fitting some switches and things. I'll go into the electric side in a number of other videos. I've still got quite a lot to do. I've been keeping my Patreon supporters regular updates with regards to inside the boat. One person I would like to thank is Ed Potter. He is the top level patron, and this episode is dedicated to him. Thank you very much. And I'd also like to say thanks to Robin and Patrick. They've donated funds to the Patreon page and didn't want anything in return, so I just wanted to say thanks to you as well. Don't know when my next episode's going to be. I am really busy inside. now that I'm on the Coventry Canal, I want to get a lot of it done before I then move on to the Ashby and then speak to this carpenter. So I'm ploughing on, I'm getting stuff inside, and before you know it, it'll be time to paint Alice. Yes, second shock horror. I've decided on my colours. I've virtually decided on the actual paint, and it'll be time to start painting. But thanks very much for watching, and do hit that subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button there's a little bell icon. If you hit that as well, that'll ping up an alert most of the time anyway when I release new videos. So because they're a little bit sporadic at the moment, that would be quite useful for you. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.